What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Week 9 is in the books. Week 10 coming right up. And it's about time. It's about time to make that decision. In season long leagues, it's do or die time. In dynasty leagues, you're kind of making that decision. Am I going for the championship this year? Am I tanking this year? You're kind of at a crossroads. So that's probably a lot of the theme of what we're going to be talking about this week. It's middle of the year. What do I do now? I need to make that push. So that's what we're going to be going for this week. Jeremy, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, nothing much. Pretty good. I had a good week, man. I won almost every single league, so that I'm in. Not
I
bad.
am I'm
Yeah.
here drinking bourbon because I went 2-6 this week,
Oof.
which was easily
Ouch.
my worst week of the year. I think I was never worse
Rough.
than 4-4 or 3-5. So yeah, I took one on the chin this week, but time to bounce back. So let's get started. Just a quick question for you. Like in a redraft league, what are you looking for right now? We're at that midway point, or look maybe a little bit past the midway point to the playoffs. What are you kind of paying attention to right now, in terms of standings, and what kind of moves are you making depending on where you're at?
Yeah, I think you talked about it last week a little bit. You kind of need to decide if you need to make a move. That's like the important part. Is like just thinking about it and saying like, do I need to make a move? Do I need to like just stay with what I've got? And then what kind of move to make? Um, like if you are your winning team and you have extra players on your bench that could be starters on somebody else's team, maybe package some of those players together, try to go after a better starter for your team. Um, if you're a loser, you need better starters. Maybe you got to sell off one of your best players with somebody else to get two kind of starters on your team. Kind of, I feel like things like that is what you're looking at, and then uh, a little bit looking ahead to the playoffs if you're winning too.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like it's time, last week and this week, self-evaluation. So you kind of need to determine, you know, do you need to make a move? And if you do, what kind? That's a really good tip. You have to look yourself in the mirror and understand your team, and what your goals are. The thing I have is kind of like you have to take inventory of where you are in the standings. It's so important right now. If you're in a You have to know your league settings as well. If you're in a 10 team league and 16 make the playoffs, or 12 team league and 4 teams make the playoffs, whatever it may be, make sure you take the time to look that up and understand, how far you have to climb in the standings, or, are you barely holding on? Because it's really going to determine like your risk tolerance that you're willing to take like in your league. So for example, like if you're in a redraft league that's 14 teams and only 6 teams make the playoffs and you're in 12th or 13th, your risk tolerance from now on has to be like super, super high and wide, right? You're not looking to make like minor moves and play the waiver wire. You need to kind of like go for broke. So it's kind of like that kind of, looking in the mirror and understanding where you are in relation to the playoffs, and kind of just understand what is kind of the right thing to do, and willing to field questions on this throughout the whole pod. I think it's super important.
Yeah, what up, Nickel City and Go Bills podcast?
Okay, so we have a trade question. So trading away Jalen Waddle and Travis Etienne for CMC and Brandon Cooks. I have my decision. Jeremy, what do you like?
It is a 10 team league, so I tend to go towards get the best player because maybe he's not starting Waddle ETN in that one, and in that case, if you're not starting them and you're going after CMC, I like it. But Brandon Cooks, I thought he was gonna be great this year, and the Cowboys just don't use him. I don't know what's going on. He's like 1,000 yard receiver on every other team in the league except the Cowboys. So for 10 team league, I kind of like it. If it was like a 12 team league, I'd rather have the Waddle ETN side.
Yeah,
What
I
do you think?
think I think regardless of league size, Waddle is enough of a he moves the needle enough for me to like the Waddle and ETN side. I mean, ETN hasn't been all that much worse than CMC this year. He's been having a great year. So I'm assuming you're starting Waddle every week. I think Brandon Cooks is
Except
like you
this
might have,
week.
yeah, he is on
He's
bye,
on
right?
bye. So maybe this is he's on bye, can't start him, so let's get someone I can start and it's gonna like CMC can win you a week.
You're a little
I
you're
didn't
you're kind of
understand.
right. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess because Waddle is on bye, I would say if it depends where you are in the standings. I think if you're healthy in the standings, top 4 or 5, I'd probably stand pat. But if you're trailing, this is one of those moves where you kind of just have to go for it, right? Because CMC is going to be an upgrade over ETN, maybe 2 or 3 points a week upgrade. And Waddle's not playing. So if you're in eighth or ninth out of 10 teams, I'd say go for it. So it matters a lot where you are in the standings.
Yeah, we were talking about kind of what to do depending on what place you're in. And one of the things I was saying earlier was like, if you're looking good, like if you're top of the league, you're top 14 or something, one of the things I like to do is look at playoff matchups, playoff schedules. So I was looking ahead, like some players, which players to shoot for and stuff. We both said last week we liked Eckler a lot. He had a good week. Eckler's one who has a good playoff schedule.
Yep.
Bijan, they both have like the two best running back playoff schedules. Kyler Murray's coming back, and Arizona in general has a really good week 15, 16, 17 schedule. So Arizona is like the entire team is worth targeting, especially because if Kyler comes back and is instant top 10 quarterback, they're great there. I also have like Seattle wide receivers have a good schedule.
49ers wide receivers. Yep.
Yeah. Dalton Kincaid has good matchups, Kelsey and Hawk. And then kind of like a dark horse there, Logan Thomas, if you need tight end help. The Commanders' schedule at the end for tight ends is pretty decent. And there's a bunch of playoff defenses, but the Colts are one I kind of got my eye on. And then there's the Jets in Atlanta. New Orleans is a good first week matchup for the first week of the playoffs.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're in the top 1, 2, 3, you can kind of start getting greedy, right, and looking all
Yeah.
the way ahead to fantasy matchup. I mean, fantasy playoffs matchups. But if you're in, sixth, seventh, eighth, fifth, whatever, fighting for your life, you can't
Yeah.
really do that. You have to look at week 10. So that's where we'll start looking for week 10. But I think the moral of the story so far is be self-aware and understand where you're at, because you might not have that luxury to look out to week 12, 13, right? So
Yep.
yeah, so Go Bills said he's in second place.
Wow.
So that's a nice luxury. You have receivers that are okay, but I think your three starting receivers, assuming you start three, are Hill, Waddle, and Garrett Wilson. Um, I don't love Gabe Davis as a every week starter. He's more of like a flex play for me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think because you're in second place, I would hang on to those two every week starters with Waddle and ETN. My personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You kind of need Waddle. I think you don't want to give him away for because Brandon Cooks just isn't. I don't think it's quite enough back for what you're giving away. Seeing how your team is.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so all right, let's get into it. Let's do some game recaps
Yeah.
from week 9, and the first game we'll land on my hometown team just absolutely for the second week in a row
Such
laid
a
the
boring game.
smackdown laid the smackdown on a top of the NFC team. First the Lions, now the Seahawks. They gave in those two games combined gave up a total of 9 points. Ravens defense is just absolutely en fuego right now. Not exactly sure if it's translating to fantasy scoring because I don't really own them.
Oh, Gus
But
the Bus.
no, I mean like their defense. I'm not sure if their
Oh,
defense
defense. Sorry,
trans.
sorry, sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're like a top 5 defense. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So it is
Yeah,
translating a little bit. Yeah.
so I know it's not translating into fantasy scoring. Lamar Jackson. These past two games,
Yeah.
you really don't want to see the Ravens winning by 30, 25, 30, 35 points at a time. It's not good for Lamar's stats.
Just
He's
hands it off.
playing excellent in real life. Only 5 incompletions this whole game. If you watch the game, he's just in total command of the offense. It's impressive to
Yeah.
watch, but not translating into box scores. But that's okay. They have some tough games coming up, and tough for the Ravens, I think, is good because it's gonna, keep them back and forth, going,
Yeah.
trying to put up points. But for this game, I'll let you talk about it. It was all about the ground game.
Yeah. No, I think you called it. Yeah, it's the ground game and better games for Lamar. Like you said, they got an early lead. He didn't have to do much. he's they're not gonna. He doesn't have to like run it in the end zone when they don't. They have Gus to do it for him. It's not like a close game or anything. Um, Interesting things here is like Mark Andrews goes crazy as like the number one option. Odell Beckham gets a touchdown in 5 receptions.
We've been
That's a
kind of
big
saying that
deal.
he's coming on. His last three games,
Yeah,
he's had nice participation.
I, I have zero Odell. I didn't think he was a thing at all, and he could be proving everybody wrong. He's still got it, maybe. Isaiah Likely, a little bit, 4 for 42. So something to keep an eye on. If something happens to Andrews, make sure he's snatched up. And then Zay Flowers, just another disappointing game, and you're kind of wondering what's going on. I know you watched every second of that game. What's going on? Do you know what's going on with Zay?
I wouldn't really look too much into it. I mean, he's not
One
hurt.
target.
Yeah, but he's not hurt. It's just the Ravens just own this game from the second quarter on, and I wouldn't really look too much into it. I mean, Tyler Huntley played most of the fourth quarter, so I doubt Flowers even got snaps in the fourth quarter. They had Odell Beckham in late in the game because it was his birthday and he hasn't had a touchdown yet on Baltimore. So there was stuff going on where like I'm not really looking
Yeah.
at it too much. I mean, yeah, but for me, the takeaway is like to Keaton or not to Keaton, right? I mean, that's kind of the waiver
Yeah.
decision of the week is like, do you believe the Keaton Mitchell hype? What do you think?
Um, you always want to go after a rookie, but he doesn't have a ton of pedigree. Doesn't have draft capital. I think you don't go after him like hugely. Like we're in the time of year where like if you're using, let's say you're the number one waiver wire, sure, I think it's okay to use that on him. If you're doing like fab, you're spending money. I wouldn't like drop all my fab on him. I think like maybe 20% fab around there. Um, it's just you're hoping something comes of it. You're hoping like he starts splitting time with Gus. And this was like you said, this was a crazy game where they had a huge lead, so they're like, sure, do what you want, Keaton Mitchell. Let's see what you can do. Maybe Seattle had given up a little bit, right? So yeah, I think you shouldn't rush to spend everything. Of course, we could be wrong, and next week it's the Keaton Mitchell show, and he goes crazy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think um, so. First of all, if you watch this show, you would have Keaton Mitchell on your IR as of like 3 or 4 weeks ago because
Yeah,
I said,
you
while
did.
he's on IR, pick him up because Dobbins is out for the year and they put him on IR. He was never hurt. They were just slow rolling him into the year. And I loved him in preseason. But I think the hang up here is Justice Hill is like the roadblock, right? I mean, Gus Edwards is going to get his. I say that. He only had 5 carries. He's not, it's not like he had 15, 20 carries. So Gus
Yeah,
Edwards had a really light load. Justice Hill had 13 carries, though. So it's really going to come down to how involved do they keep Justice Hill in the offense. He played more than more Justice Hill played more snaps than Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards combined. So that's scary, but I think what Keaton Mitchell showed, you can't keep him off the field. I mean, he had a long touchdown run and then another 60-yard run that wasn't a touchdown. So he's just absolutely electric, easily their fastest player. So I think he's worth an ad because Justice Hill, he's like a fifth year in the NFL. He's a jag. Like, eh.
so how much money you're spending on him though to add him?
So here's the thing is like I didn't in my leagues, I had
You have
him
them all.
already.
Okay, how
And
much money
then
would you spend?
yeah, I don't really think I had an opportunity to pick him up. I would probably spend if I was running back needy, I would probably spend 25, $30.
Yeah,
If he wasn't gonna start for me this coming week, uh 15. Yeah.
he's tough to start. Yeah, I was gonna say he's tough to start anyway.
I think as cool as it was and watching his big plays, I think I need to see it one more time.
Yeah,
Especially Cleveland coming up this week. Gonna be an
tough.
AFC North slobber knocker game. I don't think you can start
Justin
Keaton
Tucker,
Mitchell.
5 field goals and they win.
It's gonna be a Gus Edwards. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
Lamar game, is what it's gonna be
yeah,
because he's gonna need to play good for them to win.
yeah,
So anyway, enough about the Ravens.
yeah.
but
Seahawks
also
side, there's not much to
not
say though.
not much to say. I mean, Kenneth Walker. I mean, are we talking about a full blown committee here now?
I mean, Charbonnet's in the mix, but just nobody does anything on the whole team except for JSN. I think JSN's legit, and you can start him now. It's a few weeks in a row now of
It's
him
like
putting
three
up
weeks
10
in
to
a row.
12
Yep.
points. Yeah. So I think he's startable every week. Just he might have a, go back to having a bad week where he gets not as many targets, but he gets 7 targets, Lockett 8, DK 4, and he gets the most receptions.
Yeah, I'm
And
with you.
they look for him in the end zone too. He's talented. We know he's talented.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost like a throwaway game. Just like we said, remember when the Lions played the Ravens a couple weeks ago?
Yeah,
We said it's a throwaway game. I think this is kind of the same thing. Other than JSN, kind of being an every week flex viable player, I wouldn't
yeah,
look too much into the Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet thing. I think Kenneth Walker is a high end RB2 or back end RB1, and Charbonnet, you can kind of look at him as a flex play from now on.
yeah. I don't think he's quite startable. I have him in one league, and I was like, should I start him? And I was like, no, I think he's not quite there yet. You just need to see a little more from him. You need to see more pass catching from Charbonnet, and then like I'd be comfortable putting him in the flex every week.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, well, we got another question here, so let's answer this sit start question. So this is from Go Bills. You had the trade question earlier. After
Great
reading
problem.
this and that foursome of running backs you have, the real trade that you should make after showing us this one earlier, the real trade that you should make is you should trade one of those running backs for a better receiver, or like maybe I don't know, maybe trade like Waddle and one of those running backs for like AJ
For
Brown or
CMC.
something. Yeah, or CMC or AJ Brown.
Upgrade to CMC. Yeah, AJ Brown. Yeah, go after AJ Brown. He's on bye, so you'd have to get by 1 week, but that'd be fine.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
out of those two,
if you can only start two of those on any given week, you need to trade one of them. That's all I have to say.
yeah, because that's an amazing problem to have. I'd go ETN and Brees Hall. I think there, but I like ETN, Hall, and Kamara are all so close for me. I think Jonathan Taylor with the Zach Moss stuff going on, he's a bench, because you have those amazing running backs. But you could like just pick between Kamara, Hall, and ETN. Um, but yeah, I'd be going probably ETN and Brees Hall.
I mean, you have four of the top six running
Yeah,
backs for week 10. I mean,
yeah.
I think the answer is you shouldn't be picking 2 out of 4. You need to be picking 2 out of 3. You need to trade one of
Yeah.
those tonight. Like, just do it for a receiver or a better tight end or something. I don't know. But yeah, you can't, if you ever have one of those four players on your bench any given week, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, like Jonathan Taylor and Waddle for I don't know, like Stephon Diggs or Amon Ra, or even that's like overkill.
That's Yeah, you're giving up too much.
Yeah, let's do it
I
anyway.
don't I would just say one of the running backs. So like here's the thing,
Oh,
since you're
for
in
a wide
second,
out. Yeah,
I would just pick one of the running backs and try to trade him for AJ Brown because AJ Brown's on bye this week, so that owner might be desperate. Um,
yeah.
I would just try that. I'll trade one of
Trade
those running
trade
backs
Jonathan
for
Taylor for AJ Brown.
done. Any one of them
Three,
really. I don't really care
too
which
good.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, next game, we had probably the game of the week, shockingly. Minnesota travels to Atlanta, and Josh Dobbs comes in relief of Jaron Hall and gets the fourth quarter victory. Pretty cool
Tell me,
game.
tell me you've heard
Yeah.
all these stories about him, right? About what happened. He
No.
knew no one's name on the team. He was like asking people what their names were. He was like they were walking him through like his checkdowns and stuff on the sideline right before he went in. Like it's it's crazy. And he would just be like, "Hey, what's your name? Where are you supposed to be this play? Okay, cool." Like, it's oh man, I was like hearing story listening to people talk about it after the game and stuff, and it's insane that he went out and won. And he used his legs a ton. I think he's a big waiver wire ad if you saw out there. If you need a QB, if he's going to be running that much, I mean, and he's slinging it a, a good amount. He threw 2 touchdowns and 150 yards. But it's just crazy to me. It makes me feel better about my Justin Jefferson shares because maybe they'll actually bring Justin Jefferson back
Hmm.
and Dobbs can throw him the ball.
Yeah. For real, yeah. If you're a Jefferson owner or a Hawkinson owner or Addison owner, you were pooping your pants when Jaron Hall got the
Oh
start,
yeah,
who actually
yeah,
looked decent, right? Until
yeah,
he got hurt. So,
yeah.
anyway, but Josh Dobbs, dude, I feel like he's the feel good story of the year because,
Yeah.
he's going nowhere in Arizona. They're basically just putting him in there to get creamed every game. And then he gets traded, gets thrown in the mix with no practice and frickin' wins. And I think we all, as fantasy football owners, can thank him for beating Arthur Smith's ass because I think everyone's tired of looking at that guy and he's ruining Bijan, he's ruining Drake London,
Yes.
he's ruining Kyle Pitts. So screw that guy and
Yeah.
go Josh Dobbs.
Yeah. We need Atlanta to just get beat down the rest of the year so that Arthur Smith is gone and they can
We,
get someone who will
yep,
use the offense correctly.
yep, maybe even before then, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
need Atlanta to lose the next two games badly. So
Yeah.
it's killing me, man. Speaking of Atlanta offense, which I can barely stand to look at.
Johnu Smith. He's got to be a waiver ad this week.
No,
If you need a
no,
tight end,
nope.
this is too many games in a row. They look forward in the end zone. 5 for 100 yards. Like, you have to.
Dude, I think
Also,
I'm
who
willing.
is Kadero Hodge? Can you please help me out there?
He
Not Drake
spells it.
London, who is
He
out, but
spells it.
still.
He spells his name funny. But anyway, dude, I can't play Jonnu Smith just out of principle. Because I own all the Kyle Pitts in
I
Dynasty,
know, I
and so
know.
I can't like. So you want to hear what's funny? I got offered a trade in a Dynasty league the other day, or yesterday, and the guy offered me Jonnu Smith for Kyle Pitts. And I said, "Is this a joke?" And he said, "Only kind of, because Jonnu Smith is actually better." Like, and I was like,
I mean,
"You're
fantasy
not."
wise,
Like,
technically,
I was like, "I'm so mad because you're so right," but I also declined it.
yeah, yeah,
But,
of course, yeah,
I mean, come on, man. Like, it is just a joke at
it's
this point.
bad.
I feel like
Algier splitting carries with Bijan.
it's how many, just I understand like you have Bijan Robinson, you spent top 10 draft capital on him if you're Atlanta. You don't want to run the guy into the ground. I mean, that's not what you want to do here. But I mean, this is belligerent, how badly they use him.
Yeah.
So let's all pray Arthur Smith loses his job as soon as what's funny is like when Arthur Smith got hired by Atlanta and then they drafted Bijan Robinson, we were seeing like Derrick Henry flashbacks,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we're like, holy shit, it's about to
Mm.
happen. So I feel like Bijan's price even went higher because of Arthur
Oh.
Smith.
Oh yeah.
But nah, screw that guy.
He
I'm
loves
done
to
with him.
run, and they're like, he's clearly way more talented than Algier, so he's going to get everything. I will say, I do think Heineke is better for that offense. I
Agree.
think I mean, look at the points they put up and everything. So I
Yeah.
think like it makes Kyle Pitts startable. It makes Johnny Smith startable. Drake London's back hopefully this week. It
Mhm.
looks like. Last I checked, he's like kind of questionable. Um, so we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, the moral of the story is like Bijan Robinson is nothing more than like a mid-range RB2 at this point, and it sucks to
Yeah.
say, but if you drafted him in the first round, you're not doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
okay. So on
we
to
forgot to mention
Minnesota.
on. I was gonna say we forgot to mention Minnesota. Your boy Cam Akers is just done, man. Broken again.
RIP.
Poor dude.
I know.
Can't
And
catch
I
a
heard
break.
it's
He finally
I
gets somewhere. They're gonna use him a little bit, and then
I know he was actually like somewhat starting to look decent and get
yeah,
used, and Madison wasn't really looking so great anymore. So I was like, oh, here comes Cam
yep.
Akers. But yeah, another torn Achilles. This is on his other foot this time. So it's back to being Alexander Madison, probably 25 touches a game. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, good news for Minnesota. Josh Dobbs looks good. So I think Justin Jefferson's a buy, right? If you can still get your hands on him.
Yeah. I don't think they've officially activated him onto like the practice.
He
They
got
did.
activated on the
Okay. Yeah.
return today. Yeah.
The return. Yeah, the return. Yeah. So did we were talking last week? James Conner
Mm-hmm.
is activated. Kyler Murray is starting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's some big things going on in Arizona. they don't. They said they don't know if James Conner's going to start this week, but it's possible for him to. And I guess now that they if Justin Jefferson's on the practice, he's possible to start
Yeah,
too.
I think Jefferson's next week at the earliest. Just if
I
I
agree.
mean by reading the tea leaves there, but it's probably
Yeah.
going to be 2 more weeks for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's good news for him, for everyone really, that they won this game because I think they're gonna try to get him back and make a playoff push here. So
I think so
good
too.
news for your Minnesota peeps. All right. So next game, another super exciting game with some wild fantasy output is Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Houston Texans, and the Texans win it in a thrilling game to make it to 500 on the year. Pretty shocking, right? That the
C.J.
Texans.
Stroud,
I know. Is he?
he's amazing. He's the
I
best
mean,
quarterback in that class now.
I know. I was just about to ask. It's
Yeah,
like,
he
so you
is.
have. It's unfair to really grade him against Richardson, but
But you can. Richardson's hurt, so you
yeah,
can grade
that's
him and
true.
just say he's hurt, so C.J. Stroud's better. No, Stroud. I think I had one. I'm in like a one fun redraft league that I've been in for like I don't know 10 years something with some old bar regulars of mine forever ago. He was like he was just sitting in free agency, so I grabbed him because it's like it's like a dumb little league, but I grabbed him and I'm starting him because I have Mahomes who's on bye this week, and I was like I'll start C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I mean,
He shouldn't be on anyone's waiver wire. He should be starting every week at this point if he's going to keep putting up these fantasy points. He's slinging it.
470 yards and 5 touchdowns. I saw a
Yeah.
couple like funny pictures of legit starting fantasy football teams that had like quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a flex, and a tight end that CJ Stroud just beat by himself.
Yeah.
I don't know how many points he had, but it depends
Yeah.
on your league settings, but
Yeah.
probably
It
around
was like
50.
40. Yeah,
Yeah.
40 something, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I have him in. Yeah.
So pretty wild stuff. I mean, he propped up 4 different receivers to have great games. So
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say it, but get all of the pieces of the Houston offense that you can. So
Except the run game.
well, except the run game. Damian Pierce was out this week because of
Yeah.
injury, but he hasn't really been doing too much anyway. But yeah, this is all about the air attack. Dalton Schultz just tears it up. He's had a couple really good weeks recently. Tank Dell comes back from injury and scores 2 tutties right away. Yeah, Nico Collins scores again. I mean, this is just wild to think about how many of these Texans ball catchers we have to play every week. Never would have
Yep.
thought.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's crazy. Then the Tampa Bay side of things rather. Rashad White has a pretty good game. So pretty happy about that.
Great game.
His,
Great game.
yeah,
Yeah.
he finally has like a RB1 game. Mike Evans and then Kate Otten. I think I mentioned him last week. I liked him as a tight end grab, and he catches 2 touchdowns, 6 for 70. He should be a tight end ad if you need somebody if you're desperate, because he could be a regular thing. I don't know. He's had a couple good games.
Yeah, he's been getting the target share the last couple
Yeah.
weeks. Hasn't really done much for most of his career, but definitely have to. You can't ignore what he's done the past few
Yeah.
weeks.
You
But
talked about
Rashad,
Trey Palmer.
yeah, last week we talked
Yeah.
about Trey Palmer. He's
Yeah.
legit,
You
dude.
you were
I
talking
mean,
him up. Yeah.
he passes the eye test like crazy. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Let's see, we got a question here. Any thoughts on defense, Detroit, Pittsburgh, or Colts? Let's think
So
about
for
this
this
for,
week,
yeah. Let's see what we got here.
Pittsburgh out of those three
Yeah, that's for me too. I mean, yeah,
for
they're at
sure.
home. They're at home. They're always a good defense at home, and yeah, Green Bay has just sucked lately for the
Yeah, they
most
haven't been
part.
playing great. Now we could be wrong. Green Bay could go crazy, but I would say probably the Colts would be the next one I go after. If you're not a fan of Pittsburgh, just because they get New England, New England's not looking super great.
I Yeah, they're on the road though, which I don't
Yeah,
love. And what was the other
yeah.
one? Detroit? No,
Detroit.
Detroit's a
Yeah, definitely
Detroit's
not
a
Detroit.
definitely
Yeah,
not Detroit. I
Detroit
would
next week. They get Arizona next week. Then next week Detroit.
well, they have Collar back, man. Be careful.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, I think we agree on Pittsburgh. Yeah. So, all right. So, wrap up Buccaneers. Rashad White, dude. I mean, I know you were real big on him at the beginning of the year. Um, man, I mean, he is just his last couple weeks, he's found his stride. I mean, think of an example. Like who would you trade for Rashad White, just like one for one, and feel good about it? Like, tell me like the best player that you would trade and still love it.
I think we had said Pacheco, like either way, right? I think we put them like right around the same spot. Um, and I think I'd rather have White over Pacheco because Kansas City offense is you're not sure what's going to happen. Whereas it seems like White is taking over here. So it's but
I
the
think
last
that's
after like 3 weeks ago we would have said the other way probably, right?
right. And Pacheco's on bye this week, right? So I think that's a pretty
Yeah,
slick trade. If you can do like Pacheco and like a small piece, like someone who's like on your bench but still decent for
yeah.
Rashad White, I think that's a super slick trade to go try right now. So that would be one of my suggestions. Cool. Not really much more to take away from this game other than I got to look up Baker Mayfield, like where he stands on the year in quarterback. What's your guess?
Oh man, he's probably right around like 12.
16, but
Oh, so not as good as I thought. He's had a few good games in a row where he's been startable. I
is it
didn't think we would be saying that. I didn't
fun?
think he'd be startable this year. I thought he'd be like a under 200 yards, one touchdown, and a pick a game type of quarterback. But
4 out of his 8 starts were, well, let me see. Five, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of his 8 starts were 16 fantasy points or more. That's pretty
can't
good.
hate on that. Yeah, say
No,
especially super flex or two QB leagues.
he's been a
He's a
solid
good number
QB2
two. Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. We never would have thought. Wow. So good for him revitalizing his career. I didn't
Yeah.
think he was going to win the starting job there. I thought it was going to be Kyle Trask.
Oh, I figured it'd be Baker, but I
Yeah.
do think like, it's surprising and good for him. I think bad for your boy Chris Godwin this week, though. I don't know what went on there.
Yeah.
Kate
I
Otten
mean,
gets all the love. Chris Godwin gets none of the love.
I'm not worried about Godwin. I mean,
Yeah.
that was his worst game in like 2 years. That won't continue. But yeah, yeah. We said, did we say Godwin was a buy last week? I forget.
Yeah, we did for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think even he's even better buy now because he had a bad week. So I'm still all in Godwin. It's gonna take for him to like play without one of his hands for me to not like him.
Yeah, it's Tampa Bay. I think I only want Rashad White really, but and Kate
Yeah,
Otten. Like I said, I think Kate Otten's a great tight end choice.
cool.
Speaking of tight
Well,
ends, we can jump to the next one where our
yep.
boy had a great game.
Yes, sir. So on to the Cowboys Eagles game. Super fun game to watch. Very competitive down to the last play. Um, and then for some reason, with the game on the line, the Cowboys throw a 50-50 ball to Jalen Tolbert after CeeDee Lamb just has a literal career game.
Yeah,
Um, so anyway, Cowboys gonna cowboy. Um, that was
yeah.
just a weird play call.
But our
But
boy
yeah,
Jake Ferguson.
tell me, yeah, talk to me about Dallas.
Yeah, we've been calling him for a few weeks now. We've been saying we love Jake Ferguson. Grab him, start him at tight end every week, and 7 for 91 and a touchdown. This is, I mean, I think you and I both said at the beginning of the season, Dallas loves their tight ends. They love having their tight end to go to, catch touchdowns. It goes back for a long time. And I think we're seeing that happen with Jake. I think he's emerging as, I mean, he could be the number two guy there. It should be Brandon Cooks, like we were saying earlier, but for some reason they don't like Brandon Cooks, or Dak doesn't like Brandon Cooks. I don't know. But
Yeah, I
yeah, Jake
think
Ferguson every week.
I need to rewatch our sleeper show at the beginning of the year because I'm pretty sure we had Jake Ferguson on there as a sleeper. Um, he was definitely one of our tight end sleepers of the year. And if you watch this game, you saw that Jake Ferguson was the first option in the pattern multiple times. Like they motioned him to get him certain matchups,
Yeah.
and then the ball was going to him. That's like the way that teams use Kelsey and Gronk. I don't know, man. He's emerging, and it's coming quickly. He's about to be the guy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that right over the middle. You see so many of those right over the middle plays when they need a first down or when they need, just I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So he is no fluke, that's for sure. But yeah. CeeDee Lamb just continues his, how many games in a row he's just absolutely crushing.
Yeah,
If you're in a PPR league,
about time.
he's demolishing. Yeah, he had a slow start to the year,
Yeah.
but he has come on hard here. Um, but at the expense of the Dallas running game, which brings me to Tony Pollard. How worried are you about Pollard?
Super worried now. We all thought he was going to be this top five guy the whole season. We're halfway through, and is he 20 or something? Maybe. Um, it's
Let's see
it's
here.
not looking good, especially when they're not using him in the passing game like they did when they had Zeke. I feel like when they had Zeke, he was all the time getting all these passes. He gets 3 passes, 5 targets here. Yeah, I'm worried about Pollard. It doesn't seem like they're going to use him quite as much as everybody thought.
Yeah, 4 of his last 5 games are under 8 PPR
Yeah,
points. So yeah,
it's tough.
and he's running back 21 on the year. Not what you want to
Yeah.
see from your end of the first round, beginning of the second round running back pick. Um, yeah, man, you're gonna go ahead and brag on me because you just traded him to me.
For
We're
Dell.
yeah, we're in a league together, and you know, I got Pollard, and then I gave Jeremy a big package of players in return because he was down in the standings, and one of them was Tank Dell. He started Tank Dell, went freaking nuclear, and I'm sitting there with Pollard just doing shit. So you're
Yeah.
welcome.
I think Takedale scored 4 or 5 times the amount of points that Pollard did this week. So
Yep, rub it in.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Um,
and Dak keeps it rolling, man. I mean, he's
yeah.
quietly piecing together a pretty good year here. His last 3 games, 25, 29, 28 fantasy points. So after a slow start, he is red hot right now. I don't know what
Yeah.
changed, but
Let me tell you
he's
something
here.
crazy. I had Fields in a 1 QB redraft league, and Fields went down. And when the week Fields isn't starting, Dak's on the waiver wire because nobody liked him because he was doing horrible. I picked him up, and ever since I picked him up, he has been red hot on fire, and it's like helped me come back a little bit from the Fields injury. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I thought he had a chance of bouncing back, after the bye and stuff, and they came back and they've been really well. I mean, he's been really good, I guess,
Yeah, they
for
definitely
fantasy.
changed something in their offense. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they're all in on passing now, and that's a good thing for Dak. So, yeah, we didn't even talk about Eagles yet, so we'll bounce on over to Jalen Hurts. I almost say he's in like the Josh Allen like ho hum like okay, 200 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 36 rushing yards, rushing touchdown. Oh,
Rushing
whatever.
touchdown. Yep.
Yeah, it's like you don't even.
Just
It's like you don't even
expected.
bat an eye, and it's an amazing game for a quarterback. So
Yeah,
he's just in that he's in that tier now, right?
I think so, definitely. And then of course AJ Brown just keeps doing what he's doing. The man's unstoppable. Um, if you have him, you're happy. Devontae Smith finally has a good game.
2 in a
I
row
think we'll
now.
see that for Devontae
Yeah.
Smith. He'll come up and down a little bit, but hopefully for the most part they start spreading it out a little bit. AJ Brown's always going to get it though. Now we've seen that happen. Goddard okay, but not great. 3 for 50. You want a little more from him. You still
Well,
kind of
let's
have to
talk about
start
him
him.
real quick. Let's talk about him.
Yeah.
Broken arm and on the IR.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't even know who their
unfortunate.
backup is.
It's not. I mean,
It's nobody,
my
right?
opinion on that is like, don't search for a backup tight end for him because
No.
I feel like there's like 14 or 15 really viable tight end
Yeah, like
starters.
Johnu Smith.
Taysom Hill.
Oh, freaking
Oh
Taysom Hill.
gosh. I mean, there's
Oh,
so let's go down just while we're on, if you did
yeah.
lose Goddard, who we'll kind of jump into a little waiver wire-ish talk
So
here.
Ferguson, we've talked
Taysom
about
Hill,
already. Trey McBride, Taysom Hill, Logan Thomas, I think. Um, Johnu Smith, Hunter Henry,
David Njoku's had 3 good games in a row.
Njoku. Yep, that's a good one. Komet, but I feel like everyone's picked up Komet because he's had a couple big games. I'm still
Yeah.
not a huge Komet fan. I don't know. He's had so many bad games that a few good ones
Yeah, I'm
don't
not a
like. Yeah, I'm not ready to jump on that one yet.
so it's yeah. So I mean, I think if you lost Goddard, you're gonna be able to pick up one of Taysom
Yeah,
Hill, Ferguson, McBride, Thomas,
Kate
Njoku,
Otten, Musgrave.
Kate Otten, Johnny Smith. You'll be fine. So
Yeah,
I don't even know who the Eagles' backup tight end, but it probably doesn't matter. So I think this is good news for Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, probably
it's true.
DeAndre Swift too.
Hmm.
Speaking of DeAndre Swift, once again gets really good
Vulture
volume. Yeah, he gets 20 touches and he gets vultured every game by Jalen Hurts. But I
and
mean,
Gainwell.
yeah, and Gainwell. So DeAndre Swift, but he was kind of never the goal line guy. Not in Detroit, not here.
Yeah,
I don't know. I kind of like him as a little buy low. Not that he's doing that bad where you'd really consider it like buying low, but let me see. I think he's had a couple of like, yeah, he hasn't had like a really, really good game in like 3 or 4 weeks. So I think it's a decent little chance to buy low.
I think the people that have DeAndre Swift love DeAndre Swift. So
Really?
I don't know. Yeah,
Okay. Well, anyway, if anyone's down on him from this game,
yeah.
maybe take your
See
swing
what you
at.
can
But
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway, with Goddard out, for at least 4 weeks, probably up to like 6 weeks, just makes Devonta Smith, DeAndre Swift that much more playable. We don't care who their third receiver is; they don't never use them. Yeah, my man Kenny Gainwell gets in the end zone.
yeah,
After having a huge week one, they never really used him much more, but maybe he'll get some run now that Goddard's out. All right. Well, on to the final recap of the night. So the Nickel City Mafia, Buffalo Bills, lose a tough one. I would say probably the toughest team and the toughest place to play right now. The Bengals are on a heater, and
oh yeah.
going into Cincy last week or the week before is just that you weren't. I don't care who you were. I think any team was losing that game.
Joey B is back.
Joey B is back. He's on a heater. T
Yeah,
Higgins is on a heater. I
yep.
mean, it's just tough sledding right
I
now
think I
for
called that one a couple weeks ago. I was like,
you
T
did.
Higgins, buy low,
You
get
did.
him. He's
You
coming
did.
back. But Jamar
So
Chase on a bit of a low points.
yeah, he had a bad week.
Couple bad weeks.
Yeah, so he's been pretty open publicly about his bad back.
Hmm.
So he said it's been bothering him, and it sounds like I don't know that he's like an IR candidate, but
Yeah,
we'll see if he just toughs it out and tries to play through it. But I don't know. He's being pretty honest about how bad he feels. So I don't know. I think we might see Jamar Chase sit out a game or two, and try to get his back right because back injuries are just, they
yeah,
totally change, how good you're able to play. So it's not something that you usually try to play through because if you're spasming, you can't really do much. So keep an eye out
yeah.
there. But I think that makes T Higgins even more of a buy. Not that anyone's selling because he's had 2 weeks outstanding in a row. But
Yeah, well, Tyler Boyd, a little pickup if he's sitting around the waiver wire or something. Because if Chase does miss time, if Chase or T misses time, we see Boyd do well without
yeah, what do
fail.
you what do you think about him? Is he like pretty available?
I think so. It depends. If leagues with deeper benches, people stash him. He's definitely a guy people like to stash and don't start until something happens. But I think like he could be out there. So keep an eye out. We just like I said, anytime we see one of those guys get hurt or something, Boyd has good games. Definitely
Agree.
startable every week. Yeah.
Yeah, and I this is something I wanted to. I wish if someone from the Bills channel is watching, please chime in. But I think since he saw something in the Bills defense because of the way that the targets went. So this stuck out to me. Tyler Boyd, who plays primarily slot, he had 3 catches on 5 targets for 56 yards. Tanner Hudson, who I believe is a tight end, 4 catches for 45 yards. Drew Sample, 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Another tight end. Irv Smith,
Or
3 catches, 26 yards, another touchdown, another tight end. So are the Bengals trying to tell us something that the way to attack the Bills is through the tight end position?
Yeah, throw to the tight end. Yeah, I guess we should. Wait, who the Bills? Who are the Bills playing this week? I should know this. Being on the Bills channel,
I'm not sure.
I think it's a divisional game. Hold on.
Let's check. After that, we have a question to answer. The
Oh,
Bills
it's
play
Denver.
Denver. Okay,
They
so
don't have a tight end.
Denver doesn't really have a tight end to attack the Bills with.
Yeah.
So anyway, Chandler, what's up, man? Thanks for the trade question. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We answer questions every week, so stop on by if you ever have one. Trade Keenan Allen, ETN, and Kittle for Eckler, St. Brown, and Kincaid, PPR. So, yep.
I'm all for it. I got Eckler is better than ETN. We were talking about earlier. Eckler has a great playoff run of matchups. So does I think St. Brown does okay, has an okay one, and Kincaid has a great playoff run matchups. But also I just think Eckler is better than ETN. St. Brown's better than Keenan Allen, and Kincaid and Kittle are probably pretty close with Kincaid's breakout. He's been just getting better every week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kincaid and Kittle are pretty much, yeah, a wash, right? I mean, I think you'd be splitting hairs if you tried to compare them rest of season. Um, Eckler, if you're, even though ETN's had a great year, I think Eckler, yeah, has the leg up on him. And St. Brown, is he? So who's been better so far, St. Brown or Keenan Allen?
It's probably pretty close, I would think. Keenan's had
It's
some
actually,
crazy games.
it's
No, it's
actually
not close.
not. No,
Oh, Keenan's way better.
Keenan
Yeah,
Allen. Well, let's see. Let's do. Okay, in half PPR, so split it down the middle. Half PPR, Keenan Allen is wide receiver 4, and Amon Ra is wide receiver 11. But he missed a game. Hold on.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see points per game. Give me a second.
I like the Eckler, St.
Oh,
Brown,
they're
Kincaid.
they're
So
they're basically tied in points per
yeah,
game. Okay.
yeah, I like it. Eckler, St. Brown, Kincaid side better even with that. I just think
I think that side has more upside.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Cool
And
trade
like you're
though.
saying, I think for the playoffs, you're gonna want those three over the other three.
Yep, agree. Thanks, Chandler, for the question. Appreciate you. Okay, so let's continue with this um, Bengals Bills game. Just one more comment on the Bengals. Joe Mixon just continues to grind it out and be good. I mean, he's never going to drop like a huge game on you, I don't think, but he's just been super solid this year in
Yeah.
terms of putting up points and being involved in the passing game. So that's cool. Yep, Josh Allen has another good game, putting one in the end zone on the ground, and yeah, has another good game for fantasy. There's a debate on in real life, how really good he played, but James Cook letting us down again.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep making excuses for him, right? I think like he's gonna come around one of these times. They use him a little bit in the passing game, which I like. He gets 4 receptions. That's what you want to see. He just doesn't get a lot of carries, but also they're like down, right? So they're throwing a lot. Um, I still think his talent's there, and we can still see him emerge. I'm gonna stick with that. He can still be a top RB2.
So let's see what we got. So James Cook. Yeah. He's yep, RB19 on the year.
Yeah. So I think
So
he can get to RB like 13, 14. He can get there, I think. It's
okay.
possible.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's good sign that he's still a back end RB2 and we
Yeah.
haven't really seen what we want from him yet. So that's a good sign. We'll try not to get too frustrated there. Stefan
Kincaid goes
Diggs,
crazy.
yeah,
I was gonna
yeah,
say I like
Kincaid.
Kincaid. We were talking about it the last few weeks how he's getting better, and I feel like Knox went down, which really sucks for Knox. Sucks for the Bills. He's a talented guy, but it opened a door for Kincaid to just go nuts. 10 receptions on 11 targets. That's such a huge target share. He more targets than Stephon Diggs.
Hmm. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid over the last 3 weeks is tight end five in the
Yeah.
NFL. So it's so I'll list them down and okay, you try to guess. You try to guess. Who are
Taysom
the
Hill's
top?
in there.
He's number one, dude.
Yeah, I know. I know.
He's number one.
Probably Johnny
So
Smith.
no,
Okay, that's good.
he's yeah. So Taysom Hill, T.J. Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelsey,
Kelsey,
Dalton
yeah.
Kincaid. There he
Yeah.
is. So yeah,
Johnny's
man.
6.
Now he's actually 16. Screw
Okay.
him. But yeah, man, Kincaid, I think he's that guy. We loved him preseason. It took him a while to find his role, but yeah, like you said, now that Knox is out, I mean, I think he led the team in targets by four. That's really good news. It means Allen is feeling comfortable with him. So yeah, love that usage. Last question I had for you on this one. Khalil Shakir are we like are we serious?
You know, I dropped him right before he started picking up in like a dynasty in our dynasty league because I got tired of him sitting on my roster forever doing nothing. And every week he's been getting a solid like what 4 to 5, 6 targets. Oh man, I think he's someone to look at and keep an eye on. Oh, here we go. Got a trade offer.
So rock out. Thanks for the super chat, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, thanks for coming to the channel and hanging out. Got a trade offer. My Walker for Aaron Jones. Wow.
So I'm guessing
It's
Kenneth Walker
Kenneth Walker.
for Aaron Jones.
Man,
That's a tough one. That's pretty close for me. I like Aaron Jones a lot. I just think he's like fantasy wise, he's great. I do think Kenneth Walker is still probably who I lean towards. What do you think?
do you have rest of season rankings?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah, let
looking
me
at right
see.
now.
Let me
I
bring up
like.
rest.
I think I mean, health wise and stuff. Walker had a couple bad games.
Yeah, so I
I
think
gotta go
so.
Kenneth Walker. I don't think it's as close as I was thinking.
Okay. So I wanted to see Aaron Jones' schedule because I know Kenneth Walker's is bad, right? So I knew that going into it because I have
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker everywhere. And when I look on Sleeper, it's just red, 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 orange, red, red, red for the rest of the way. But Aaron
Yeah.
Jones, now that I'm looking at it, is almost just as bad.
Yeah. It is.
So I think Kenneth Walker just carries so much more upside than Aaron
Yeah.
Jones. So since they both have bad schedules, I will say that I will go with Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. I'd keep Kenneth Walker here. Um, if you're looking if you're looking to get rid of him for another running back, uh, oops.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Derrick Henry. If the Barkley owner is a little maybe angry, like you could go after Barkley. Um,
What about Jameer Gibbs?
yeah, I was gonna say him next. Maybe Jameer Gibbs. Just if you're looking to move on to bet, I honestly think Walker is right up there with any of those guys. Just has that potential. I'd rather have Barkley and Henry over Walker.
Yeah,
Um,
agree.
maybe look at putting something together for Bijan. Honestly, I think Bijan's had a bunch of bad games, but he's got a great playoff schedule. Atlanta's got like a pretty decent schedule rest of the way. Um, maybe try to package like Walker plus something for Bijan, or maybe the person's fed up with Bijan. I mean, yeah,
I'm kind of with you. I like that, trading Walker plus something for Bijan because someone's gonna look at that trade offer and say, "What? That doesn't make sense," you know? Like Kenneth Walker's had a couple of really great games.
oh,
Oh,
he
he has
has
Bijan.
Bijan. No, then you're
Okay,
sitting pretty there, man. I like
you're
it.
in great shape, my
Nice.
dude. I mean,
John
maybe like
Jonathan Taylor would be another target for me.
or I mean Eckler, like Walker
Yeah,
plus a good other player for Eckler,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
or
We were
just
talking
try
about Eckler's got. I say
What's that?
Eckler's got a great playoff schedule too. So we were talking
For
about Eckler
sure.
earlier. Yeah,
So or just try Walker for Derrick Henry straight up. I like Derrick Henry straight up better than Walker rest of the season
agreed.
personally.
Yep, I agree with that too. Josh Jacobs too,
Ooh,
just for fantasy purposes. I
yeah,
think that's good.
Yeah, I agree. I think we like Kenneth Walker's talent, but with Zach Charbonnet coming on and Seattle's rest of schedule being so bad for running backs, it's like god awful. I know that doesn't really matter for Kenneth Walker because the type of running back he is, he's not really a grinded out guy. He's like, he's either going to get his 50, 60-yard touchdown or he's not. Um, so I don't know.
But definitely
I
Walker over Jones for
Yeah,
sure.
that's your
But
answer. Thanks,
thanks
Rock
for the
Out, for
question,
the
man.
question. Appreciate you. Okay, so that wraps up our game recaps. So let's just go real quick. Um, we'll go through like quick trade targets that guys you're looking to acquire or any trades that you've sent out. What's your
Yeah,
strategy, real quick?
I just sent one out today. So any team where I'm like lower middle in the like I can still make the playoffs, so I'm trying to make a little push for it. Um, my tight end is I think it's Jake Ferguson in that league, so he's been pretty good. But I'm looking to upgrade the tight end a little bit, and also kind of like a parallel upgrade at the wide receiver position. So I have Devonte Adams and Cortland Sutton. I'm trying to trade them away and get Brandon Ayuk and Kincaid. So I feel like the Devonte Adams name still holds like some reverence and stuff. People might think he's better than Ayuk. I think Ayuk is probably better than him the rest of the season. And then I feel like if I add Sutton, this guy doesn't need Kincaid. He has Laporta, so he's never starting Kincaid. So I'm hoping to like target Kincaid that way.
Wow. That's a really cool trade offer because I'm with you. Ayuk greater than Devonte Adams rest of season, and I don't even think it's really close.
Yeah,
And that's a cool way to get off Sutton, who's kind of like a bleh, like
yeah,
wide receiver three, and to get Kincaid. That's really slick. So,
yeah. But who
and
knows? He didn't take it yet.
that should work for him. I mean, he's not
Yeah,
going to start Kincaid, right? He has Laporta.
yeah,
I like that. I take that a lot. Cool. Well, you want to run through waiver wire real quick? We already talked
yeah.
about Josh Dobbs kind of being a quarterback you like. Is there any
That's the
other
only one I
any?
had. Yeah,
Okay. We'll just throw out the Kyler Murray, right? I mean,
yeah.
depending
If
on
he's
the
still
league
there.
type
Yeah,
you're in, there might be a lot of lazy owners out there that have just let Kyler Murray sit. So make sure you check to see if
yeah.
he's owned or not. Yeah, other than that, I think we're all set. Just one more comment about quarterback. Will Levis has been named the starter for the rest of the
Yeah.
season. He's looked pretty good his first two starts. So if you're in a deep league or a two QB league, Will Levis is probably an every week starter moving forward. Okay,
Yep.
running back. Who's
So
interesting to
there's
you?
yeah, just the one this week. Keaton Mitchell is like the top guy, and then after that, there's a huge drop off. We talked about Cam Akers being out, so Ty Chandler. He's not exciting. We haven't seen him do anything. He hasn't taken the role away, any kind of a role away from Alexander Madison, but he's still there. And then same guys talked about last week, backups. So Elijah Mitchell, Rico Dottle, and Gainwell, just to stash and just in case something happens.
So here's an interesting one that I'm going to throw in one more name. Yeah, and I'm with you on Keaton Mitchell. I think he's a nice ad, but I don't overpay for him because we don't really know his role. But one more ad that I'm like, I think I'm just obsessed with this guy, so I'm probably hanging on a little too tightly. But Damian Pierce, I think he's been getting dropped a decent amount in redraft leagues. And let's just face it, Devin Singletary sucks.
Yeah,
And
so
that
yeah,
offense is better, a lot better than we thought it was. So if Damian Pierce got dropped in your league, because he's been not really producing, he's been hurt, he missed last week. I think it's a like a wait. I'm not saying pick him up and start him, but I think he's a cool wait and see running back if you're kind of hurting there.
yeah, or a bye week running back if you're hurting on a bye. Yeah, I agree. Moving on to wide receivers, I've got we talked about a couple of these guys last weekend too, but Demario Pop Douglas on New
He
England,
had a nice little game.
he's he did, and he's still good the rest of the season. He's rookie. Another rookie we talked about Michael Wilson. We got Kyler coming back. Wilson looked really good. Kyler could make Wilson into a solid number two option there. Um, Plus, as I mentioned before, he's dating Sophia Smith, who's just amazing. So Then kind of like deeper stashes for wide receiver. I don't like Jameson Williams on Detroit, but I think he's worth a deep stash if you have space. And Marvin Mims, we know he's talented. Denver just doesn't like to use him, but if he's hanging out there, throw him as a stash. You never know.
Yeah, Jamison Williams. I think Detroit has a really nice matchups the rest of the way for wide receivers, but they just traded for Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think they
Yeah,
hate Jamison Williams.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
So
think I said at the
anyway,
beginning of the season, like I was done with them. I've
yeah,
been like, I read some articles how like people don't like him. It's like something wrong with him, and yeah, as soon as I read that kind of stuff about a player, it really, I feel like it means bad things are coming.
yeah. So a couple more I'll add for wide receivers are he's been really bad this year, but I feel like he's like you almost have to stash him to see what happens. Is Quentin Johnston. Um,
Yeah,
Josh Palmer's out. I think he's on IR. And we already know Mike Williams is out. The Chargers are a good offense and they have to throw to someone, and it can't be Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler every play. And, Gerald Everett's kind of been picking up the slack, but I feel like Quentin Johnson, he's got to have a good game or two, right? I mean, it has to
I
happen.
dropped him in the league we're in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Uh,
But that was pre
so
Palmer injury. If Palmer was
it
out, you wouldn't
was
have done
no,
that.
that's
Yeah.
true. No, it was pre Palmer injury. That's right. So no, he's worth an ad to see. I feel like he kind of had his chance and missed it. I guess he's getting another shot. So we'll see. It's a shame. I thought he was going to be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my last one, there's probably not a ton of a chance he's available, but he's had two really nice weeks in a row, but didn't do much before that. Jahan Dotson. So you could take a peek and see if he's available in your league, because he had a really slow year until the last 2 weeks, and now he's been a vital part of that offense.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and then we kind of already touched on tight end, but do you have any one you want to talk about?
Yeah. So we kind of talked about Kate Otten having a big game. Johnu Smith, Luke Musgrave. We talked about like every week, and then Hunter Henry for New England. Um, just like if you really need someone. Then I usually have to throw some defenses out there. So for this week, I've got Seattle, Las Vegas, Colts, and Carolina as like kind of deep stashes if you need somebody.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, let me see here. Sorry, looking at the wrong thing for defense. Yeah, man, I say the Ravens are my number one ad if they're available. Um, Cleveland has just kind of been not a great offense all year, and the Ravens defense is just unreal. The last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm digging them a lot. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for the questions. Appreciate the super chat. And we'll come back next week and do it all over again. Answer some more questions. Let's go win some games.
Yeah. Later.
All right, guys. Good night.